Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Begin all things with the illustrious name of Allah, the Yielder, merciful. Muhammad, read by beginning with the name of your sustainer, who created all things. He created the human beings from a cell separated. Read, Muhammad, because your sustainer is most generous. You taught by the quill. He taught the human beings what they did not know. Nevertheless, surely the human beings verily exceed all bounds, because with this knowledge he saw himself with many riches. Surely, Muhammad, unto your sustainer Allah is the return. Did you people of Muhammad's time not see Abu Jahl, who hindered Muhammad, a mere servant, when he tried to worship? Did you not see if Muhammad was rightly guided, or that Muhammad ordered the trembling at the mention of Allah? Did you not see how Abu Jahl denied Al-Qur'an and turned away? Doesn't Abu Jahl know that Allah sees all things? Nevertheless, if Abu Jahl continues to hinder others, Allah and the angelic
Reading words of peace, assalamu alaikum. Brother Sutet, Brother Sadnetta. Most importantly, my beloved brother, Dr. Ray Haley. First, some caveats. We are here to discuss history. I am a Muslim, but I am not here in New York to propagate Islam. I am not here to discuss theology. I am here as an historian to present history. Now, undoubtedly, some of the history I present will conflict with some folks' theology. My condolences. Though I do believe, ultimately, history and theology may be reconciled, I will make no attempt to do so tonight. I come strictly to talk history. For the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said wisely, of all of our studies, history is most attractive and best qualified to reward our research. If you came to see Dr. Wesley Muhammad and Dr. Ray Haley engage gladiator style in personal beefs disguised as intellectuality, you will be disappointed. Dr. Ray Hagan is my brother. I honor and respect his efforts to break the religious bonds that still bind us as a people to our slave master, Christian and Muslim slave master. I join you, Brother Ray, in fighting that fight. The question tonight is not, is Islam the true religion of African people? That's a theological question. The question tonight is Islam an African religion? Not the African religion, an African religion. Did Africans create Islam, or did non-African white folks create Islam? That is the question. And I affirm and I will demonstrate tonight that Islam is not a religion created by some white Arabs and imposed on African peoples as a tool of enslavement. Islam is a religion created historically. The historical, traditional, linguistic, archaeological evidence, inscriptional evidence all testifies to the fact that African peoples created Islam. Mamadou Chinyere, in Golden Age of the Moor, Africans in the birth and expansion of Islam asked the question, ironically, though the origins of Islam are rooted in the African tradition and the growth of the Islamic empire brought forward by the genius and might of African Muslims. As the 20th century comes to a close, Islam is associated more with the Semitic white Arabs. How did this come about? Why do we assume today that Islam is a white Arab religion? Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, and I leave his statement in Arabic for a reason, to send a message. We can't do history if we're unable to gauge the history from the perspective of the primary source material. If you can't read the history of Islam in the primary Arabic text, then stop trying to write the history of Islam. We will never accept folk writing the history of Kemet who cannot engage Kemet from the perspective of the Medinet. Stop trying to write the history and pontificate on the history of Islam if you can't engage it from the level of the primary textual sources. Prophet Muhammad said he had a dream. In that dream, he saw black sheep and white sheep. Prophet Muhammad said that he saw the white sheep join in among the black sheep and outnumbered them such that the black sheep were no longer noticeable. Prophet Muhammad said that the meaning of that dream is that those black sheep were his original Arab followers, and that the white sheep were non-Arab foreigners, specifically Persians, Turks, and Byzantines, that accepted Islam later in such large numbers that the original black Muslims were no longer noticeable. And he said that the white sheep stole the genealogy of the black sheep. That is to say, the white non-Arabs, once entering Islam, claimed Arabism fraudulently. What is an Arab? It has been said that an Arab is a nomad. Well, etymologically, no, it is not. J. Loder, linguist, philologist, in his important article, The Concept of Darkness in the Hebrew Root, demonstrates that the triliteral root, Arab, Ayn Rabbe, and its pre-Proto-Semitic and various Semitic derivatives all mean darkness. And Loder, the philologist and Semitist, demonstrated that etymology suggested Arab, the Arab means Natural Tahuti. Give Natural Tahuti a hand. That's why I said white Arab is an oxymoron, because the very term Arab means dark or black. In the Arabic, classical Arabic tradition, the evidence is overwhelming. Al-Arab, Ibn Manzur in his Lisan al-Arab, the most important Arabic lexicon. If you want to know the meaning of an Arabic word or Islamic word, you have to first go to Ibn Manzur. Ibn Manzur tells us that the pure Arab described that color as black and the color of the non-Arab as red. And because pure Arabism, the true Arab, is black skin, the very term black skin, Aswadu Jilda, meant Halisun Arab, pure Arab. Pure Arab was a black-skinned Arab. Al-Mubarak, the 9th century grammarian from Basra, says the Arabs used to take pride in their darkness and blackness, and they had a distaste for a light complexion. And they used to say that a light complexion was the complexion of the non-Arabs. These are the true Arabs. A black Shamar Arab, a black Omani Arab, black Yemeni Arabs. And this is particularly important. This is an image, a painting done in the 19th century by a German traveler throughout North Arabia and Syria. He painted pictures of the local peoples he found there. This is a Hawaza, a man from Banu Hawazi, a tribe from northern Arabia, particularly Medina, that one of its subsets is a very important tribe, Banu Hazraj. The Banu Hazraj was the tribe from which the Ansar primarily came. Now, all Muslims and students of Islamic history know that the two most important groups in that early drama, which was the evolution of Islam, was the Muhajirun, the immigrants to Medina, from Mecca to Medina, and the Ansar, the helpers, those in Medina that helped them. Those Ansar were the Banu Hazraj and Banu Al. This is what they look like. This is what the Quraysh look like. This is what the Muhajirun look like. This is what the Ansar look like. Who are these black Arabs? At-Tabari knows. The children of Sam, Shem, the Semites, settled in the center of the earth, which is between Sartidma and the sea, and between Yemen and Syria. Allah made the prophets from them, revealed the books to them, made them beautiful, gave them black complexion, and also gave them a black complexion with a light brownish undertone. The children of Ham settled toward the south. Allah gave them a black complexion and gave some of them a black complexion with a light brownish undertone. The children of Japheth settled in Safan towards the north. They had light skin and very fair skin. In other words, the Arabs are Semites. The black Arabs are black Semites. What do we know of the Semites? Georgia de Omolet, philologist, Semitic philologist from the Department of Semitic Philology, University of Barcelona. In his important work, Questions of Semitic Linguistics. No, Proto-Semites, that group of folk, those original Semites from which derive all the derivative Semitic languages, cultures, and religions. The Proto-Semites form part of a mass of peoples who, moving out from the heart of Africa, spread north and reached the Mediterranean coast and beyond. The Semitic family was the spearhead of one of the expansive movements of peoples towards Asia from the heart of Africa. Those Semites are Africans. They originated in Central Africa, migrated north, crossed over into the Arabian Peninsula. They were black when they left Africa. They were black when they entered Arabia. They were black at the time of Prophet Muhammad. Now, when they got to Arabia, as we call it, they did not leave Africa. They entered only another part of their African homeland. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia says study published by Stacey International in 1982. Maps and geography books make Arabia a part of Asia. But plant and animal life clearly bear out the theory that it is really an extension of Africa. Saudi Arabia's wildlife is an African complex of species. The animals and plants of northern and northeastern Saudi Arabia are generally closely related to or identical with Saharan species. Not only does the ecology of the Arabian Peninsula indicate that it is but an extension of Africa, the geology and the climatology as well as the ethnology of Arabia indicates the same. Maurizo Tarsi, the Arabian Peninsula is the geological extension of Africa. Physically, the peninsula is a part of Africa, landscaped by the same geological and climate processes as the Eastern Sahara and the Ethiopian highlands. In general, Arabia is the continuation of the African system across the Red Sea. Arabia is but northeast Africa. The peoples of Arabia are African peoples, and what these peoples, these Africans in Arabia, contributed to the onward march to civilization must be respected as African contributions to the onward march to civilization, and that includes Islam. Our sister, anthropologist sister, Dr. Manish, Sister Dana Reynolds Manish, she says in her powerful article, Fear of Blackness, the Scriptures and Ethnogenesis of the Original Afro-Arabian Tribes. The inhabitants of the Arabian Peninsula, long after the time of Muhammad, shared the appearance of Ethiopians and other sub-Saharan Africans, as well as customs of present-day Africans stretching from the present country of Sudan to Somalia in the east, Mauritania, Mali, and Nigeria in the west. These are the facts of pre-Islamic and early Islamic Arabia. The blackness of Arabia didn't start with the coming of Muhammad. Arabia was black and the Arabs were black long afterwards, a point I will emphasize in a moment. These are the facts of pre-Islamic and early Islamic Arabia, which is why the Greeks and Romans considered Arabia an extension of Ethiopia, and for Syrians, much of Arabia part of the Sudan, long after the time of the Prophet Muhammad. Although Iranians had settled the Yemen or south of the peninsula in the centuries immediately preceding the Prophet Muhammad, the Turks, Circassians, mercenaries, concubines, and slaves from all parts of the world had come to settle the land of the true Arabs. Later in Islamic times, large numbers of indigenous peoples of African appearance still occupy the peninsula of Arabia, preserving the indigenous and original Afro-Arab cultures. That is an African cultural complex in Arabia, and it was that African cultural complex that gave birth to Islam. Where? Y'all thought I was running from this? Prophet Muhammad. Was he black? Was he a white sheep? Or was he a black sheep? Not theologically, historically. What does historical evidence say? You rectify that with your theology some other time. Maybe I will help you with that. Maybe I will not. A careful examination of history reveals that the Prophet Muhammad was of the black race and was black in complexion. Wayne Chandler. Muhammad was in the family of the black race. Dr. Yosef bin Yakinen. Muhammad himself was, by all accounts, a Negro. J.A. Rogers. Al-Jahiz informs us that Prophet Muhammad's father, Abdullah, and all 9 of his paternal uncles was Dahum, black. His mother, Amina bint Wahb, was from the Banu Zura, which was a subset of the Qurayshi clan. It was a black clan. The Banu Zura, his mother's tribe, is represented best by Muhammad's maternal uncle, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, a tall black member of Banu Zura. Now, Ibn al-Rumi in the 9th century, a poet who wrote poetry against the Abbasid dynasty. And those who know my work know that the Abbasid dynasty followed the Umayyad dynasty, which was a black dynasty, a black power dynasty. But the revolution that toppled it and installed the Abbasids initiated the Aryanization, the whitenization of Islam. And Ibn al-Rumi wrote poetry against them. One of the reasons he criticized them in this poetry, he wrote this to the Abbasid Caliph. Said, you insulted the family of the Prophet Muhammad because of their blackness, while there are still pure-blooded, black-skinned Arabs. However, you are blue. Asra, blue means white in Arabic, as does red. The Romans, Byzantines have embellished your faces with their color. I want to say this. This is live stream. But one more point. Muhammad al-Baqir, one of the descendants of Prophet Muhammad, one of the imams honored by the Shiites. He was a very dark-skinned Arab, as was his king. He was known as he who resembles because he looked like Prophet Muhammad. Now, I say to the Muslim world, I say to Saudi Arabia and to Iran, if a man's daddy is black, if all his paternal uncles are black, if his mama is black and all his maternal uncles are black, if all his first cousins are black, how in the hell is he going to look like that? How did he look like that? This white Muhammad, this Aryanized Muhammad, originated from the same place that white Jesus, that Aryan Jesus originated from. Now, yes, I drop a bomb. I can, by Allah's grace, harmonize the theology. But that's not my subject today. I'm dealing with history and history alone. I'm talking about the re-Arabization of Muhammad. If Muhammad was a pure Arab, as all the sources state, he could only look like this. If he was an Arab, he looked like this. We're talking about re-Arabizing Muhammad because an Arab is a black person. If he was an Arab, he looked like this. Now, some of you may say that's a moot point. Him being black or white, because he didn't exist. My brother, Walter Williams, in his book, The Historical Origin of Islam, makes that argument. And I respect my brother, Walter Williams. But Walter Williams is, speaking as a historian, wrong. Brother Walter, in this book, relies on the suggestion by Patricia Crone from Princeton, the most staunch critic of the historicity of Islamic tradition. And she's a good scholar. She is right to be skeptical of the historicity of Islamic tradition. Brother Walter relies on her to make his claim that Prophet Muhammad didn't exist, but he misuses her. What Patricia Crone actually says on the matter, Muslim literary sources for Muhammad's life only begin around 750, 800 CE, Common Era, some 4 to 5 generations after his death. And few Islamicists today take them to be straightforward historical accounts. For all of that, we probably know more about Muhammad than we do about Jesus. And we certainly have the potential to know a great deal more. There is no doubt that Muhammad existed. Occasional attempts to deny it notwithstanding. His neighbors in Byzantine Syria got to hear of him within 2 years of his death at the latest. The evidence of Greek text would mean that Muhammad is the only founder of a world religion attested in a contemporary source. This source gives us pretty irrefutable evidence that he was an historical figure. Moreover, an Armenian document, probably written sometime or shortly after 661, identifies him by name and gives a recognizable account of his monotheistic teaching. Robert Holden, seeing Islam as others see him, a compilation of 120 non-Muslim sources attesting to the rise of Islam. Holden says non-Muslim and archaeological testimonies, when carefully supplemented by Muslim evidence, can give us some interesting insights into the first century of Islam. In the early 640s, the historical record alerts us to a new phenomenon disrupting the familiar course of the late antique world. Arabs, equipped with a new name, Muhajirun, and a new era, were overrunning regions as far afield as Egypt and Iraq. Non-Muslim writers of the first century AH attested it was strictly monotheistic and iconoclastic. That its adherents had a sanctuary, the house of God, of Abrahamic association called Kaaba, towards which they prayed and at which they sacrificed and reverenced a stone. And also that they followed Muhammad, who was their guide and instructor, whose tradition and laws they fiercely upheld. This is also confirmed by archaeology for the period beginning 691, when inscriptions proclaiming allegiance to Muhammad and his religion are found in abundance on buildings, milestones, rocks, coins, papyri, textiles, and so on. This is one such piece of archaeological evidence. An Umayyad bronze reform coin of 696. And here you clearly have Muhammad Rasulullah. Muhammad is the messenger of God. This is archaeological evidence amidst a tremendous amount of archaeological, historical, inscriptional evidence of the historical reality of Muhammad. Yes, the orthodox biography of Muhammad that the Muslim world presents is embellished, is full of fictions, but that does not mean that the historical figure himself did not exist. He did. Now, I understand the Paul's description of the Abrahamic story as allegory. Whatever that means, it has no bearing on the question of the historicity of Prophet Muhammad. Whether Abraham himself ever existed or not is irrelevant here. The reason some try to make him relevant is because Muslims today trace Muhammad's genealogy back to Abraham via Ishmael. And so if Abraham didn't exist, Ishmael didn't exist, thus Muhammad didn't exist. No, that genealogy tracing Muhammad back to Abraham through Ishmael is a later Muslim fabrication trying to make biblical genealogy fit Arabian genealogy. We can discard with that henceforth. It has no bearing on the historicity of Prophet Muhammad. All of the empirical evidence confirms Muhammad is a real man, and the history says he was a real black African man, an Arab descended from those original Africans who went to the race. Those black Muslims, Muhammad in the early Muslims, well, post-Muhammad, his early black followers, those who spread Islam throughout the world, they were black Muslims from Arabia. They were not white folks masquerading as Arabs. All of the sources, the sources describing the Muslim conquerors in the East, the Tomb 10, the sources describing the Muslim conquerors into Egypt. And my brother, Dr. Ray Hagan, gives a wonderful lecture on Islam and the Arab invasion of Egypt. I recommend that lecture to everyone. It's a wonderful lecture. Allow me, beloved, in the spirit of brotherhood, to offer an historical caveat correction. Those Muslims who entered Egypt were not white Arabs. They were the black Arabians. Prophet Muhammad himself instructed his followers, when you conquer Egypt, be kind to its Copts, the indigenous Egyptians. Be kind to its Copts because they have a covenant of protection with you and kinship. Rahim, the term used, kinship, means the Copts and the Arabians have a genealogical relation to each other. So the prophet instructed the Muslims, when you unseat the Byzantine oppressors of our black people in Egypt, be kind to the Copts because they are same family. They are peoples. The black Arabians who entered Egypt was of the same family of the black Copts that they found in Egypt. Thus, Mamadou Tindley points out correctly, the African Copts no doubt saw the African Muslims from Arabia as liberators. After all, they were kith and kin. This was black Muslims overthrowing a white power structure in a black land. These black Muslims did not abuse the Copts. They took the churches from the white Christians, the Chaldeans, and turned them over to the Copts. They would not allow the Chaldean or white church that oppressed the Copts, would not allow them to appoint a patriarch. As long as Islam and the Muslims were black in Cairo, they treated the Copts as Muhammad instructed them, as kith and kin. Yes, they got a little bit beside themselves. They got a little bit imperialist. And they tried to go into Nubia, these black Muslims, and they got beat back by the black Christians in Nubia twice. And they got their message. They learned their lesson. But that was a black-on-black conflict. And we know about black-on-black conflict. And as much as we will condemn it, we can't de-Africanize it or make it white. Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop, pre-colonial black Africa. Was Islam imposed on African peoples? Much has been made of the Arab invasions of Africa. They occurred in the north, but in black Africa, they are figments of the imagination. While the Arabs did conquer North Africa by force of arms, the black Arabs, they quite peaceably entered black Africa. From the time of the Umayyad setbacks in the 8th century, no Arab army ever crossed the Sahara in an attempt to conquer Africa, except for the Moroccan War of the 16th century. Nor was there ever an Arab conquest of Mozambique or any other East African territory. The Arabs in these areas, who became great religious leaders, arrived as everywhere else individually and settled in peacefully. The Arab conquest, dear to sociologists, are necessary to their theories, but did not exist in reality. The primary reason for the success of Islam in black Africa, with one exception, consequently stems from the fact that it was propagated peacefully at first by solitary Arabo-Berber travelers through certain black kings and notables, who then spread it about them to those under their jurisdiction. Only during our Moravid movement of the first half of the 11th century did some Berbers attempt to impose Islam on black Africa by force of arms. During the Great Arab Conquest, general history of Africa, during the Great Arab Conquest, there was certainly no attempt to convert the Ahlul Kitab, Jews and Christians, by force. Generations of scholars have clearly demonstrated that the image of the Muslim Arab warrior with sword in one hand and the Qur'an in the other belongs to the red quoting from my brother. I will let him say it himself. It is, if I may, a statement of profound wisdom.
Yeah, put the mic there.
Started making God have partners that was equal with him. So guess what happened in the year 622 AD? An Arab who was called and who is still called today Prophet Muhammad. I don't know if he had a first name or not, but that's all I have to go by. Prophet Muhammad in 622 AD, in response to the lies of this new religion called Christianity, God used this man, Prophet Muhammad, to stand up and preach against the lies of the European religion. And his message was real simple. His message was that there is only one God from the Hebrew way. So what was Muhammad's message? Muhammad's message was simply to correct the paganist Euro-Gentile polytheism that was disguised in something called Christianity. Paganist Euro-Gentile polytheism that was disguised in something called Christianity. Did I lose y'all? Please understand something, brothers and sisters. Muhammad was not trying to start a new religion or movement. He was only preaching in Arabic, which was the language of the day, a correction against the religion of Rome. Personally, now, you can challenge me on this if you want to. Personally, I think that the Prophet Muhammad went into Africa, because this is before the Arab invasion now. I think he went into Africa and saw in Africa what we call Ma'at. Y'all with me? I believe he saw Ma'at and described it in Arabic, which would be the word Islam.
Give our brother. Absolutely. Maya in Kemet. Islam in Arabia. Linguistically, geographically distinct, but in essence the same. That's why in Kemet they had a 30-day fast, like in Arabia. That's why in Kemet the priests prayed 5 times a day. They made ablution and they prostrated. They abstained from pork in Kemet. They abstained from wine in Kemet. African peoples practice these spiritual rituals in Kemet, and African peoples practice these same spiritual rituals in Arabia. It's all Africa. Assalamu alaikum.
Say it for Brother Wesley Muhammad. Come on, y'all. Come on. Yo, that was powerful.
Make sure the mic is... Feel bad. Surah Al-Qalam, the chapter of the quill. Al-Qur'an, 114 books of the last prophet apostle Ahmad Muhammad. Chapter 2, verses 1 to 52, revealed in the year 611 AD. Ar-Rahim. Begin all things with the illustrious name of Allah, the Healer, the Merciful. Noon, the light. I, Gabriel, swear by the quill and all the scriptures that the prophets recorded. You, Muhammad, are not, by the grace of your sustainer, possessed by evil spirits, jinns. And most surely, for you is verily a reward that will never diminish. And surely you, Muhammad, is verily from on high, and in your nature created a supreme being. So you will see, and the rejectors of Islam will also see, by which of you all are the demented ones. Surely Muhammad's sustainer, he knows best who strays from the path, and he also knows best who is the rightly guided. So don't obey the liars. Idol worshippers of Muhammad's time wished that if only Muhammad would be gentle on them, and in that case, they would be gentle. They would stop preaching and persecuting Muhammad.
Human civilization started in Africa. There was an article in the July 29th, 2001 issue of U.S. News and World Report. In this issue, they stated that through DNA analysis, that scientifically it has been proven that civilization started in Africa.
And Muhammad don't obey every despicable swear as Walid ibn al-Mughani. Walid ibn al-Mughani was a slanderer going about backbiting. One who forbids doing good, an uncontrollable, wicked sinner. Cruel. Besides all that, a bastard. He is with an unknown father and of unknown descendancy. Even if Walid ibn al-Mughani possessed great wealth and many sons, when Allah and the angelic beings' signs or scriptures were recited out loud to Walid bin al-Mughani, he said, "These are but recorded legends of the ancients. Allah and his angelic beings will mark him on his trunk-like nose. Surely Allah and the angelic beings will try the Meccans, as we tried the companions of the garden, when they swore that they would pluck its fruit only in the morning. And two of the evil sons of Ghalib did not make an exception by adding the phrase, Inshallah, if Allah wills. So an encompassment or a tornado encircled the garden from Muhammad's sustainer, and this happened while the three sons were sleeping. Then the garden became like cut down fruit or empty stalks. So the three sons of Ghalib awoke in the morning and called each other. Let's go early in the morning to your harvest if you are to pluck the fruits. So the two evil ones departed, conversing to each other in a whisper. Now that their father is dead, they will stop feeding the poor. That none of the sons of Ghalib will this day let any poor settler enter the garden and get free fruit. And the sons of Ghalib set out early the next day, for the sons of Ghalib were firm in their commitment to prevent the feeding of the poor. So when the sons of Ghalib saw said, most surely we verily have gone astray. But the two evil sons of God have cried, nay, we are deprived, ones of our own orchard. The good son, the more worthy of them, said, did I not tell you that you should have glorified Allah? The two evil sons said, glory be to our sustainer, surely we were ones who did wrong. So then the evil two turned and began to blame each other for their evil attitude. They said, woe unto us, surely we were arrogant. Maybe our sustainer will substitute the garden for us.
Well, why is that picture of the Prophet Muhammad black? Then they said, stop Allah. I said, well, because it's not white. That's why it's not black. Because not white, because the artist painted it black. That's the reason. Now, you got anything else you want to ask? Do you want to ask me, is the Prophet Muhammad black? He's as black as he is white to you. To me. If you understand what I'm saying, if you need him white to keep your faith, then we need him black to keep ours. If you go back in the hadith and pull out all those points where y'all say he's white and make an announcement to the world that he did not have a color, then we'll march with you. We don't have to make the Prophet Muhammad black. It's not what he was, it's what he did. But you said he was white. So we said he was black. Because there's nothing as beautiful and as healthy as the Qur'an grow on unfertile soil. The richer and blacker the soil, the better the growth. If Allah is going to plant a seed somewhere, he's going to plant it in a healthy gene. You know what I'm saying? So now, if you want him to be white, then we want him to be. If we all want to be Muslims, we'll eliminate the problem. But after the fact, that means after you've already established him as white, we've got to now establish him as black. But don't tell me to do a word of D. Muhammad, kill all images while you still got him white. That look like to you. I mean, certain Muslims said, hey, that's a good idea. They did. They thought that was a good idea. It was that remove all images. Say, wait a minute, home. You have already established in our children's minds that he's white. And now you say remove the image, but the soul still has a picture of him as white. They go, so? So what? This is what? He wasn't white. He was black. Now, trace your own history and find out. They'll tell you the Prophet Muhammad's family was Sudanese. They know that. Or okay. He wasn't really white. He was reddish. I ain't never seen nobody red. The only relationship I have in my mind of a red person is on a hot sauce bottle, and that's the devil. So, and you ain't gonna tell me he looked like that. Okay. He was brownish. Then they write in the hadith, they don't put brown, they put Adam. Ruddy. No. I can't teach my son that. And I won't teach your sons that. Because that won't make a nation. That won't develop leadership. That won't make us independent of the white man. That'll keep us worshiping the image of the beast and worshiping the image of the white man. And that is the Negro's problem. Because Negroes want to be white. They want to dress white. They want to walk white. They want to eat white. They want to talk white. Don't they? No. As soon as they get a little money, they become white. They They get a white wife or a white husband and a white Cadillac and a white house. They even get their teeth fixed. Niggas got yellow teeth, they come back with white teeth. Oh, white shiny teeth, smiling. This must stop.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashraf al-anbiya wa mursaleen. Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Wa ba'd. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I send peace and blessings to all of the prophets, to Moses, to Jesus, and especially to our beloved Prophet Muhammad, his family and his companions forever. I begin with the greeting words of the righteous. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Ethiopia, Ard al-Habasha, the land of Abyssinia, the land of great kings, the land of mystery, spirituality, the land of ancient history. As a young African American with West Indian parentage, I always wondered about Ethiopia. This land, for my family and for those African Americans living in the West, always had a type of magic to it, a type of mystery. It was a land where African people were proud, where early civilization developed. Some say that even the first man walked this land. But in my quest, I realized that Ethiopia was more than just a land of history. It was a land of high spirituality. It is said that the lost Ark of the Covenant lies in this land. It is also said that great Christian rulers and kings walked this land and maintained the teachings of Jesus, peace be upon him. As a Muslim, I came to understand that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when living in Mecca and when he found that he was persecuted and his followers needed help, he told them, if you go out to the land of Habasha, to Abyssinia, there you will find a king who oppresses nobody. It is a land of truth. Hiya ardun sidq. How did he know that it was a land of truth? Why did he send his followers into Africa before he sent them to Palestine, before he sent them to Persia, even to Yemen? Why? Join me on our search for the history of this beautiful land, and also for the true story of Najashi, the great Negus, the king of Aksum, and also light upon what happened to the Sahaba, to their families in this historic, mystical land. Join me in this journey of a lifetime as I leave you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
My journey starts in the relatively young city of Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia. It was founded in 1887 by the Emperor Menelik and has grown to a population of just over 3 million. To my astonishment, I found out that a large percentage of the people of Addis Ababa are Muslim. In fact, 40% of Ethiopia is Muslim. It may seem hard to imagine that in a country that has recently turned away from communism, Islam has never ceased to grow. In fact, Islam is growing at an unprecedented rate. Minarets of mosques dominate the old town, and the call to prayer reverberates around the city. Addis Ababa is a city on the move. The hustle and bustle of daily life continues unabated. Down every street and around every corner, Muslims go about their chores. Whether it's to the mosque or shopping, it became quite apparent that Islam is here to stay. Because I came on a quest to find the role of Islam in Ethiopia today, I knew that one of the best places to converse with Muslims was at the mosque. And so I set off to the biggest mosque in Addis Ababa, known as Masjid al-Imam Hassan ibn Abi Talib. Here I met an elder of the city, Sheikh Kamil al-Sharif, a son of one of Addis Ababa's most beloved and well-known shuyukh. As Sheikh Kamil's name also indicates, al-Sharif, he is a noble one, a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
I myself belong to the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam. We Ahl al-Bayt, our grandfathers, has came to Ethiopia from Arab Venezuela, passing the Red Cross, the Red Sea, to the Somali border, and they penetrated deep into Harar. The cause of their immigrating to Harar or coming to Harar, to Africa, is to call for Islam, to propagate Islam and teach the people of that area Islamic principle. It is known and worth mentioning that the Ahl al-Bayt, in all the way from their grandfather Muhammad and until the last day, they are basically devoted for Islam. Wherever they go, they preach for Islam and they work for Islam. They give guidance and proper teaching to all Muslims and approach non-Muslims also to accept Islam.
I found out that Sheikh Kamil's family comes from the legendary city of Harar, situated in the east of Ethiopia. He also told me that Harar was one of the main centers of Islamic learning for over 800 years. I had to find out more of this ancient city and arrange with Sheikh Kamil to journey there. Before my journey, I had the privilege to meet with some of the elders of Harar. They have established a special trust in the Harari National League in order to preserve the history and culture of the city. Amazingly, the language we all felt comfortable speaking was Arabic. I was amazed just listening to these men talk about Harar. More and more, I wanted to get to the city and see it for myself.
We are blessed today to be in front of one of the important gates of the city of Harar. It is Bab al-Nasr, and this is the gate of victory. It is one of the gates where the protection of the city was maintained. And that is one of the blessings of the city of Harar, where only 220 years ago, non-Muslims actually entered the city. It is a city of peace, a city of the scholars, and a city of high spirituality. So we are blessed today to be here with the ashraf of the city, the nobles who are descendants of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Al-Hajj Kamil al-Sharif and the others have come today along with the citizens, and we are blessed to be here at Bab al-Nasr. It is the gate of victory, and we always pray that this city will again rise. Hara is now becoming a very important city, and it is rising back again into importance in Africa and also in the Muslim world.
Theistic revolt against Arabian idolatry, associatism, did not begin in the 7th century with Muhammad, meaning he didn't start monotheism or Islam. It was already in circulation. A number of 4th, 5th century CE inscriptions evidence of a radical religious change happened in South Arabia. That's before Muhammad. Muhammad was in the 7th, and you got 4th and 5th century in South Arabia, talking about Yemen. Getting back to monotheism, because they lost it. Associatism gives way to a monotheism focused on a deity called simply Rahman, the merciful. This pre-Quranic Arabian monotheism seems to be of neither Jewish nor Christian origin. It says it right there, right? Now watch this. The Orthodox Christian Sosiminos, 443, 450, that's AD, who was aware of the fact that the Arabs first observed the same monotheistic customs as the pre-Mosaic ancient Hebrews, but over time succumbed to the idolatry of their neighbors. Reported that some northern Arabs at this time also rejected this idolatry and returned to the monotheistic way of life. So Sosiminos was before Muhammad. He lived in the 5th century, 443 to 450. There's always one above when you say century, but he was before Muhammad and he saw this. Patricia Crone recognized the implications of the report for the tradition. Sosiminos' information adds up to is that by the 5th century, the Arabs themselves, this is her talking, Patricia Crone, another top scholar, had become familiar with the idea that they were Abrahamic monotheistic by origin, at least in the Gaza area, a Quraysh Majjar, and that some of them rejected by becoming what the Islamic tradition describes as Hanifs. The Hunifa, Hanif is singular, were individuals spread out in the urban areas, Mecca, Yathrib, which is Medina, Al-Ta'if, etc., who adhered to a non-idolatrous monotheism called Hanifa, long before Muhammad emerged on the scene. As Assalamu alaikum. I'm going to start off from where I left. The men of whom we speak determined to restore the worship of God Most High Ta'ala to its proper place by abolishing not only the cult of the inferior deities who had almost entirely supplanted him, but also many of the most immoral of the practices then prevalent. These are your sources. I'm giving you all the sources so you'll know where they are. You can put the computer on pause, get them, write them down, get the books if you can afford them or whatnot, but you got the pages and you have the info. So here's another historical fact. He said Islam wasn't before Muhammad. Islam is a new religion. Watch this. I have a plethora of information, people. I'm just giving you a couple of them. The NUBIA. See, Josh don't know this stuff. Josh is not an Islamic studying person. He don't know Islam, and I hope he don't try to teach Islam because he don't even know how to speak Arabic. He don't know how to write it. He can't teach it. He don't know it. He said that himself. I asked him. The NUBIA of the Banu Himyar, the black tribe, they stress therein that they address Allah on behalf of their kings who are pious and stay away from sin due to Islam. It's called Tanazuhan wa Islam, and is the devotion to Allah alone. They knew Allah before that. They was dealing with Allah alone before the idols came in. Ask Josh, who brought the idols into Mecca? Since he knows so much, then it goes on to say, the Hajj or pilgrimage is well documented, pre-Quranic in Mecca, as Jacques Rickmans inform us with the details of an Islamic pilgrimage before Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The classical Nabatean, Lihyanite, and Sabian sources mention pilgrimages. The Historical Origin of Islam, page 93. So, Nabatean, who was Arabs, Lihyanite, who was Arabs, Sabians, who were Arabs, had pilgrimages. Hagar, radiallahu anhu, Ishmael, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that was his mother. She was an Egyptian, according to your Bible. That's the Egyptians praying on their face, and that's the Muslims right beside it, to your right side. Okay? They praying on their face. I'm pretty sure she taught her son how to pray, how to eat, how to fast, how to clean himself, and everything. That was her son. Then Ishmael, guess what? Married Egyptian women himself. Okay? So that's one part of the prostration that we do. We didn't get that from the Israelites. This is thousands of years before Abraham came on the scene. This is off the wall of Egypt. And you see the lady with her hands up? We do that too. Now, let's go to another one. Egyptians bowing with hands on their knees, praying in the tomb of Nefertiti. That's off the wall of Nefertiti. You see how he got his hands on his knees? Same thing as the Muslim. Josh don't do that. I asked Josh, how do he pray? Do he pray towards the east? He said, sometimes. I know these dudes is not practicing. I can tell because on your face that you're not practicing that prayer. You're not practicing what you supposed to be practicing. You said sometimes? Dude, we do this every day. We don't go sometimes. And then had a nerve to tell me about the Egyptians being in the east. How they gonna go pray east? Dude, if we're standing in the United States, Egypt is east of us. If we go to Egypt, there's an east to Egypt. The Egyptians always prayed east towards the sun. the rising of the sun. Go read. And they prayed to the south, to their ancestors. Did you know that? No, you didn't. I couldn't believe he said that. Here's another prayer that we do. Josh don't do that. That's an Egyptian woman, and that's a Muslim man with his hands on his chest. Some put it. It depends on what school you follow. You can put it below your navel or above your navel. And the women in Islam pray just like her. They put their hands near their breasts. So, we didn't steal anything from the Israelites. You have nothing to steal. Okay? So, I mean, like, y'all got to get that straight. You got your months. See all these months? You got your months from the Babylonians. You didn't get those from Yahweh. You got your fringes from the Egyptians. This is thousands of years before Abraham came on the scene. Before Moses was even born, they was wearing fringes. This is before Moses. Okay? So, I mean, you should just stop it. If you are still saying this after all the knowledge and the evidence I have given, then something is wrong. Something is purely wrong. Okay? Because if somebody gives evidence, you should be like, yo, okay, cool. I ain't gonna mess with that. You didn't bring no evidence. Only thing you kept saying is the Bible was for the Qur'an. So everybody's saying that. Now you're hopping on that bandwagon. You talking about I didn't use the Qur'an because you don't believe in it. Yeah, you don't. I'm using non-Muslim sources. That's a debate. I use non-Muslim sources, so I can't move to a biased point. Okay? So therefore, I didn't use the Quran. You talking about Sabbath was copied by Muhammad with Juma. That's a lie. In the Qur'an, it tells you why Juma was made. Allah made up Juma just like he made up the Sabbath for the Israelite. Juma don't even match up to the Sabbath. First of all, Juma is on Friday at about 1 o'clock, lasts for an hour. We go back to work. Sabbath is on Saturday. Y'all don't do no work at all. You know what the word copy is? Plagiarize is? Because I don't know what your definition is, but, and then you try to get crafty with it and say he modified it a little bit. Dude, show us a document by 3 top scholars that Muhammad stole everything, even stole from the Sabbath to make Juma, and I'll believe you. Because you ain't show us that. You ain't give us no citation.
Prophet Muhammad deviated from his cultural continuity. His tribe, the Quraysh, who came from out of Ethiopia.
Jesus Christ did the same thing.
Wait a second. The Cushites.
What is he saying though?
The Cushites were worshippers. Listen. The Cushites were worshippers of the goddess Het Haru. Het Haru in Yemen becomes the goddess Alat.
So where was Jesus
mother
at?
of the gods.
Come on. Says in his two important books, The Black Man's North and East Africa and African Origin of the Major Western Religions. He says, quote, the name Allah was the origin of the later word Allah or Supreme God. Dr. Ben says Muhammad ibn Abdullah lost Allah in the Arabian Peninsula at Mecca. I love Dr. Ben. I honor Dr. Ben and I respect his liberation scholarship. But Dr. Ben on this point, most consequential point, is wrong. As Arthur Jeff, Canadian Islamicist, documents and affirms the name Allah was well known in pre-Islamic Arabia. Indeed, both it and its feminine form, Allah, are found not infrequently among the Theophorus names and inscriptions from North America.
From Arabia.
North Arabia. He said Muhammad lost Allah. Muhammad, born in the 6th century, lost Allah and created the name, the God Allah, from the female goddess Allah in the 6th century. Here are old Syrian inscriptions dated from 165 CE, inscribed on the temple, a sanctuary in Sumarta Herbesi, Syria. The Arabic Syria says, I, Teradati, son of Adonai, governor of the Arabs, built this altar and set up a pillar for Mar Allah, Lord Allah. 400 years before Muhammad was ever born, there was a sanctuary in Syria with inscriptions dedicated to the Lord Allah. How could Muhammad have lost something that existed 400 years before he was born, but more hundreds and thousands of years before he was born? When it?
Oh, go ahead.
In Allah, before Islam, in this article, in the Muslim Journal, on my site, truthofgodinstitute.com. I have this whole article uploaded. He says, go research it for yourself. He don't give us anything to go research. Right. He don't give us any source. He don't give us any citation. He give us pictures in his comedic interpretation. Right. Keep that. We don't want that, man. We want to know what it's worth.
There you go.
When it documents in Central and North Arabia, 500 BCE, 1,000 years before Muhammad, there are hundreds of inscriptions, Leonided Talmudic inscriptions invoking Allah. Like this, I brought the inscriptions. Because this is about documentation, not speculation. Oh Allah, God without offspring, in thee be joy. 1,000 years before Muhammad, there are inscriptions invoking Allah as God. Who are these invokers of Allah as God? The Leonided scriptures were written by the Banu Lithyan, the tribe of Lithyan. The tribe of Lithyan was a subgroup of a broader tribe called Hudayr. What do we know about Hudayr? The Encyclopedia of Islam tells us their skins were black and shiny. These were black worshippers of Allah. Your skin ain't black and shiny. Talking all this black talking, this anti-light skin talk. These worshippers of Allah were 1,000 years before Muhammad were black worshippers of Allah. Who are they? These Leonite, these black worshippers of Allah, 1,000 years before Muhammad, were remnants of the original population of Arabia. Who was the original population of Arabia? Well, Noble Rashidi tells us in his book, African presence in early Asia. African presence in early Asia. The Arabian Peninsula was, like much of Asia, first populated by black people.
Some of the surviving black populations, known as the Bedouins, are major portions of the Mahra population, still found in the extremities of Arabia. This is a black Arab. You doubted its existence. Here's a black Arab. Here's a black Arab, Mahra Arab. These are the first worshipers in Allah, in Arabia, and on the planet. But let's go further. Arabia, those Arabians who founded the worship of Allah were Africans. For Arabia, we know, is but Northeast Africa. As Maurice O'Tasi tells us in the annual review of anthropology, the Arabian Peninsula is the geological extension of Africa. Physically, the peninsula is a part of Africa, landscaped by the same geological and climate processes as the Eastern Sahara and the Ethiopian highlands. In general, Africa is the continuation. Arabia is the continuation of the African system across the Red Sea. That is one corner, one room in our global house. And what took place in Arabia, what black folks in Arabia contributed to the onward march of civilization, they are African contributions to the onward march of civilization. And one of the things they contributed to the onward march of civilization is Islam. Now, because I detoured to deal with some of that off-topic mess that he put out there, some of my main argument I'm going to have to put to my rebuttal. There are temples. No, let me go. One of the contributions the Africans in Arabia made to the onward march of civilization is Semitism. I know you can't read the brother say that. I translated for you. One of the contributions they made to the onward march of civilization is Semitic culture and a Semitic language. We were the first speakers of Semitism. The so-called Proto-Semites were people who migrated from the heart of Africa into the Levant 9,000 years ago. Werner Down, a German Orientalist, in his important book, Ursemitic Religion, meaning Proto-Semitic religion, he was able to, on the basis of the epigraphic evidence, the hard data, reconstruct the religion or aspects of the religion of the original Proto-Semites, those first black speakers of Semitic language. And he tells us that the God of those ancient black Semites was a biliteral term, written with two letters, two Semitic letters. One, a glottal stop, making a sound ah. The second, a dark egg, making a sound ah. The biliteral pronunciation of the biliteral name of the God of the Semites was Allah. That's right. This biliteral Allah evolved orthographically into the quadriliteral Arabic Allah. What that means is that 9,000 years ago, black Semites worshiped Allah. BCE is when we have Osar. If you can produce, not your speculation, give me a reference to Osar prior to this fragment. Allah, on the other hand,
Carry it right now.
Allah, on the other hand, don't do that. We respect him. I know why. Studies in 3rd millennium Sumerian and Akkadian names. The Akkadians were black Semites who entered Mesopotamia and mixed with the Sumerians 4000 BCE. The oldest literature we have of Akkadian are Akkadian Sumerian personal name, or
And in the list, in the text, from the Pharaoh period, 27 to 2600 BCE, 2 centuries before Osiris makes an appearance, Allah makes an appearance in the Akkadian text from 2600 BC. You have Iku Allah. Allah has proved true. You have in Allah. Mercy, oh Allah. 200 years, 2 centuries prior to the first physical evidence of Asa. You have physical evidence of Allah. Get it right. Oh, he mentioned the Himyarites. He didn't mention them, right? You want to try to press you that he know a little bit about the subject at hand. I'm glad you did that. What do we know about the Himyarites? Mister, there is no Islam before Muhammad. Mister, there's no African Islam, and then you invoke the Himyarites? D.S. Margolis says, it may be said with practical certainty that the name Muslim existed with religious value before Muhammad's time, and that the word Islam was known already to the Prophet and other persons in the sense of monotheists. It was practically certain in 903. By 1985, it was absolutely certain that the worship, the veneration of Allah was called Islam before Muhammad. Who called it Islam before Muhammad? M.J. Kishner, in his article, in Jerusalem Studies in Arabic and Islam, his article, Labayk Allahumma Labayk, on a monotheistic aspect of a Jahili practice. He documents that prior to Muhammad's reform movement, the Arabs of Arabia would travel to the Mecca and participate in a ritual, the climax of which is they're giving us talbiyah. They're saying, here I am, O Allah, in your august presence. Kishner documents 17 different tribes in the way they gave the talbiyah. And he mentions specifically the talbiyah of Himyar is significant. The Himyarites, the ones Reverend Chuck Singleton, Brother Natural Tahoudi involved. What do we know about Himyar? In their talbiyah, they say they are before Allah, Tanazul wa Islam, avoiding sin due to Islam. And who are the Himyarites? They travel to the Kaaba and invoke solitary veneration of Allah and call that Islam. Who are they? The name Himyar was given to the black race of Arabia. Drusilla Dungy Houston and Wayne Chandler and Ranoko Rashid. These black Himyarites are documented as practicing Islam before Muhammad.
بسم الرب الخالق الكريم. Begin all things with the illustrious name of the Sustainer, the generous Creator. In the very beginning was the Word, La ilaha illallah.